episode 45 of the Perfect Turd podcast, Lamar. We got a special guest with us today, Jason John Contos. He's the director, the writer, did the music for Bush Bash. How's it going, man?
Going great. How are you?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. We both watched the film. We had a really good time watching it.
Thank you for being with us, man.
It's an absolute pleasure. We're connected on Instagram. It's great. That's great that you guys checked out the film, and great that we were able to chat today. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for reaching out.
No problem at all. And so I guess just to start off, what was the motivation for this movie? Like what kickstarted the idea for it?
Well, when I was very, very, very young, I fell in love with film, and I wanted to be a filmmaker all throughout my childhood. As I grew into the teenage years, playing music and the guitar kind of took over my life, and film took a back seat throughout those years. And had it always been on my bucket list to make a film, and I said, I'm going to make a film. Come hell or high water, I will make a film. And I sat down and said, well, what, obviously making a film is difficult, expensive, time consuming, challenging, and all the rest of it. And so I thought to myself, what do I have available that will help me make a film? And the answer was not much. But the one huge advantage I had was that I'm lucky enough to live in Australia, where we have some absolutely stunning locations. So I knew that my film, whatever it would be heavily based on Australia itself. And so Bush Bash came about, and the film, as you guys know, is set deep in the beautiful Australian wilderness, and it's something money can't buy, is the beauty of the native landscape. And so the impetus for the film started, well, okay, we're going to go out into the bush, what's going to happen out there, and things unfold from there.
So obviously going off of your location in Australia, what is the filmmaking community like that? Are they receptive towards independent filmmaking and whatnot?
Australia definitely punches well above its weight in terms of international filmmaking. For a country with a population of 25 million, we have produced many, many great films, and we have a lot of great film facilities here. So I used to work at a place called Spectrum Films, which is at Fox Studios in Sydney. That's a post-production facility. They've had everything from The Matrix, Star Wars Episode 2 and 3, Mission Impossible 2, The Great Gatsby, and so on. So as I say, for a relatively small country, we have all the kind of gear and infrastructure any other country, including America, has. And we have highly trained, highly professional people. And that filters all the way down through to the indie scene,
right,
where there are festivals, there are filmmakers, and people can get out there and make a film on whatever level of budget, from zero to the top and everything in between.
Nice. Do they offer incentives or anything like that for the indies?
There's a lot of that kind of stuff. To be honest, a big part of me doing this film, it was kind of a reaction against the industry, if you will. So I chose to just use what of my own money I could scrape together or afford. And I chose deliberately to kind of turn my back on the industry. Not that they're not great, but there's a lot of boxes you have to tick.
Yeah.
To get the money. For example, you have to go to certain locations, you have to do certain things with indigenous people sometimes, et cetera, certain themes in the film. So I actively chose not to play that game. But a lot of filmmakers are the opposite. They'll go, right, we're going to make an indigenous themed film in this remote town about this theme so they can get their funding. You know, some people kind of do it backwards, and that's very valid. And I support that. And I think the Australian government and the Australian film industry do an excellent job helping where they can.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. So yeah, just like kind of bucking the system and everything like that. What challenges did you like experience and everything like that making this film?
I guess the whole thing's a challenge. I mean, I can't think of anything that was easy. Writing a story, any filmmaker knows this, but writing a story that's reasonably coherent is insanely difficult. And you try to, for example, you want to surprise your audience, but it can't be contrived. You want to have twists, but you can't see them coming. So the actual writing of the thing was exceedingly difficult. When we got out there, everyone was great. Definitely as a director, it's definitely not in my nature to be kind of like the cliche, like tyrannical director. Like everyone must do exactly as I say. I'm quite the opposite, try to be very collaborative, very open, very receptive. As a result, sometimes you end up with people, everyone's giving their input and the scene ends up being not exactly what you were hoping for. And it's like, well, I'm the director. I wrote it. I'm paying for it, but it's kind of going this way. And I'm not sure I agree with that. But my crew, my friends are going that way. That's a really hard decision. Do you say, nope, we're doing it my way? Or do you say, okay, we can do it your way, even though it's not how I was hoping to see it? That was a big challenge. More often than not, far more often than not, letting it flow in its own direction turn out to be right. But there is definitely scenes in the finished film where I see him and go, oh, probably could have put my foot down there and said, actually, I'm the director here. But I say it's not in my personality. And in the interest of keeping the energy flowing, the work going, everyone happy and everyone really engaged, everyone really genuinely engaged and having a good time and being creative, I definitely had to let my own vision fall by the wayside and let my cast and crew put their vision right over the top of it. And that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the energy. Like, that's something that definitely comes across in the film as I was watching it. Everyone there looked like they were like really into it and having a great time. And you could see that. And that's so important, you know?
That's like another thing I said, there's a handful of things money can't buy. One of them's that natural beauty. And another one is genuine chemistry, genuine charisma, genuine friendship. And we had that in droves. And the mission was to get that onto the screen. Another example, I mean, there was a kind of running joke on the set, like, oh, is there a script? Because yes, there was a script, but so much was improvised. So I might say, for example, you know, you two guys are going to have a disagreement, and we'll just improvise some ways that you can disagree, and whichever is the best will get edited into the film. So we know that we're starting here at point A, and then there's going to be a disagreement, then we're going to exit at point B. But I would allow the actors to get themselves there, and a lot of that is the energy that we're talking about and the liveness of the whole thing. And a lot of that is also the fact that you're a director, you've been working on this thing forever, and your vision is being significantly deviated from. I chose to let it go almost all of the time, but it's difficult artistically and everything. It's hard, but thank you for noticing the energy, because we felt great. Everyone was friends, everyone was laughing. And we've actually got a lot of deleted material that was literally so funny. The camera guy started laughing. So some of the best stuff in the whole film was completely destroyed because everybody was laughing. So I will release that soon enough. There's some absolute gold that we just, literally couldn't stop laughing. So a lot of fun.
It is nice. And so what would be like the craziest thing that happened on set? Like, was it like something that went wrong or something that you didn't know was going to go right? What's the craziest thing that happened?
Well, COVID struck while we were on set. So the film was filmed in March. The film was filmed in mid-March. So when we entered the Daintree rainforest, which is about, 3,000 or more kilometers, so like 2,000 plus miles north of where I live in Sydney, most of the cast. Anyway, when we entered the rainforest, Australian society was completely normal. Everything was open. Maybe COVID, we'd heard whispers that in China there's something going wrong. That week, and we didn't have reception. We didn't have phone reception or Wi-Fi where we were staying. So we'd go and get reception maybe twice a day. And literally by the second half of the production, every time you checked your phone, it was like, wow, the airport's closed. Wow, I just lost my job. I'm a professional musician. I'd be like, oh, my tour just got cancelled. Or people going on the phone, oh, crying, my mum just lost her job. My dad just lost his job. Whatever chaos COVID has caused, literally struck. And then it was like, well, the Australian government has said everyone has to go in quarantine. And we're like, well, we're out here in the rainforest. It's just us. There's about, at maximum, we had about 15 people. We're like, well, no one's coming in and we're not going out. So we're just going to kind of quarantine here. And so when we left the Daintree rainforest and left the Bush Bash set, we went out into a society that was changed forever. And obviously you can't predict, that's about as big as it gets.
Wow.
It took me about 4 days to get a flight home. I sincerely thought I may have to quarantine up in far north Queensland simply because the flights were cancelled for about 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. We'll never forget. And we had a discussion. This is a perfect example. As the director, I believed that we should address the COVID issue in the film. And a couple of the actresses disagreed. Okay. And I let them make the call. So we didn't mention COVID in the film at all. If you look really closely, there's a scene where you see a notice board in the film. And there's like a COVID warning sign on that notice board. That would have been one of the first ever signs of COVID in Australia. Because this is like kind of day one kind of thing. perfect example of letting everyone give their collaboration into the project. I said, yes, let's mention COVID and let's make some jokes about it or whatever. And one of the actresses was like, no, I don't think we should. And I went with her. So COVID's not mentioned in the film, but that tiny little Easter egg, if you will, of one of the first COVID posters ever in Australia is there. And then obviously all our lives change forever.
Wow.
Man, that's interesting. I didn't find that. I'll have to go back and look for that one.
I'm gonna have to look for that.
I didn't find it either till I was deep in the edit. I was like, oh, look, there is a little, kind of COVID warning. And I remember going into, because it's at a shop, there's a shop in the film. I remember going into that shop and it was literally like, once again, this is like the first time they ever said, sanitize your hands, social distance, blah, blah.
Yeah.
First time we heard any of these terms. Well, I knew sanitize, obviously, but things like social distancing, quarantining. We went into the shop and we're standing like kind of 12 feet apart as if like both people have like a deadly, like zombie disease. It was really hectic. Like everyone was quite fearful at the time. And I don't know if you guys had the same in America. I don't know if it made it to your media, but like Australia basically ran out of toilet paper. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
And like, people were like,
we had that.
So you like check your Wi-Fi twice a day, and it's like, oh, they're having punch ups in the supermarket over toilet paper. Like, great. Like, and at that point, for a lot of us, as a musician, lost all my gigs. People lost jobs. People's universities, you name it, someone was struck by it. And it was like, we better enjoy this film because I think it's going to be pretty rough when we get out there. There was almost like apocalyptic in the air for those first couple of weeks. And it was like, we better enjoy and savor every second of this because it's getting pretty rough out there. Yeah. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, looking at the film, like, it actually has a lot of different elements. It's like horror, comedy, mockumentary. One of my favorite things, Lamar knows this, I'm a sucker for any kind of creature, any kind of practical effects. Your creature looked really great. Can you talk a little bit about the design and how you executed the creature?
Sure. So you asked me earlier about kind of how the film came out and how it came about. And I said the first thing was that I knew whatever film I made would heavily feature the Australian landscape. The next piece of the puzzle was Jess Lynn, who was my filmmaking partner. She ended up, she initially was to do just the makeup and special effects and the creature, but she was so passionate and so engaged that she ended up making significant improvements to the script, essentially acting as a producer. Like she even came up with a lot of the cast. As I said, I live several thousand kilometers or miles from where the film was set. So a lot of the cast and crew were from much closer. Cairns is the closest big town in Australia. So Jess essentially came on as a co-producer, and the special effects and creatures were her main thing. So when I realized I have this friend who has this amazing skill and passion, well, then we said, right, well, we're going to have a creature in this film. She was doing a course which was in Townsville, which is another of the bigger towns in Australia. And part of the course was that she would design and build this thing. And we essentially ended up with professional quality monster effects, thanks to the amazing Jess Lynn. And that was the piece of the puzzle. I knew I had an idea and a drive and whatever. And there's like, okay, well, we're going to have this cool monster. And then the B grade thing came about. For anyone who hasn't seen the film, the characters in the film are making a film. They're making a B grade film. And we made that deliberately as crappy, as dodgy, as ridiculous, as cheap as possible to pay homage to these great films that I think we all love, these kind of B grade horror and really dodgy zombie movies. Yeah. And then we also tried to display some kind of genuine filmmaking talent and have some more legitimate effects. So there's very deliberately two levels of skill on display on the screen.
Excellent.
But yeah, all the creature stuff, Jess gets full credit for that, designing the creature. And once I really didn't have any input into that. She was like, look, I'm designing this creature. Like, no matter what I do with it, I'm designing this thing anyway as part of this course I'm doing. And it's like, well, we're definitely putting that thing on the screen. That's our creature, that's our creature.
Excellent.
Another example of, as a director, just taking a step back and going, whatever you say the creature is, that's the creature, rather than giving detailed instructions of how it should look.
Yeah, that's actually a good tip for filmmakers. Like, if you know someone that's talented at doing this, or someone, like you said, was taking a course, is in school for this, like, you can tap that talent pool for sure.
I was going to say, you must actually, if you have any hope of getting the job done, you're going to have to get every talented friend or person that you have access to express their full talent and then it's still going to be damn difficult, you know? So you absolutely must.
Yeah.
Whatever you happen to have at hand, friends, resources, people, locations, you must use them all to your advantage to be an indie filmmaker, in my opinion.
So, you know, this of course is horror, it's a mockumentary. What other genres would you like to do? Like, you know, do you want to do a sequel to this? Do you want to just do something different? Like, what's the next step?
On the film, one of the kind of running jokes on the film, like as I said, it was very collaborative. Everyone was giving all their ideas pretty much every shot, which can get pretty overwhelming as well. So sometimes it became a bit of a running joke. Rather than say, no, we're not going to do that idea, you'd say, oh, that can wait for Bush Bash 2. So we've got a long list of ideas for the next one already. And we all had so much fun that the sequel seems inevitable just because we want to get the group back together. It's really that simple. The thing's only just come out and I'm still kind of recovering in terms of just letting the dust settle and letting my body and my mind rest. So, but yeah, we've basically agreed we're going to do a sequel just because we had so damn much fun. And a long-term dream of mine separately from that, I've always had in my head the great Australian Western film. I love Westerns. Westerns are obviously kind of a uniquely American genre, you know, the Wild Wild West. With my band, I've spent many, many hours or months driving around Australia, all around the country. And I see these landscapes, I see the farmers, I see the motorcycle gangs, the trucks. And I'm like, yes, I want to one day be part of a film, the great Australian Western film. That's all I've got in my head right now, but I know more will come.
So obviously the film is out. So it's out right now on your Vimeo platform.
Yeah.
So give that address where people can find the film, and also talk about a little bit as an independent filmmaker why you chose Vimeo as your platform, self-distribution essentially.
Sure. So if you go to Vimeo on demand, it's just Bush Bash Film. You'll find it there, Bush Bash Film. Why did I choose Vimeo? I did do a fair bit of research. And a lot of it was kind of quite confusing. There's a real jungle out there. So Vimeo, to be honest, was once, as I said to you before, at the start of the project, even when it came to things like not accepting government money, I didn't want to be beholden to anybody in the world. One of the downsides of that, of course, is that you don't have, we all know that if you have a deadline, you work towards your deadline. Because it was just whenever I want, it's easy to delay or procrastinate or whatever. So as Halloween approached, October 31, obviously, I realized that could be a great release date for a horror comedy film, Halloween, of course.
Yeah.
And I realized I better get my act together. And I didn't have that much time before that decision was made with Jess and myself. So Vimeo was the platform that would enable us to be live on Halloween.
Okay.
Since then, I've recently uploaded to Film Hub, which will distribute to all the different online platforms. But with Film Hub, to my understanding, there's no guarantee of when you will be on those platforms, or even if you will be. It's kind of a decisions made on a case-by-case basis. So that was pretty much ruled out in my mind. Film Hub as the initial release. Film Hub was ruled out because you couldn't guarantee the timing. Vimeo, we could guarantee, yes, it will be available on Halloween. And Vimeo's been great so far. And pre-COVID, I mean, when the film was in planning, pre-production and production, the plan was definitely to have some parties at some cinemas in Australia. That obviously, we will still do something with cinemas. We've been speaking to some drive-ins. In Australia, the COVID situation's pretty good here. I think we've had 0 cases for the last 3 days or something like it's pretty good. Or there's maybe 1 case in Sydney or something. Like things, you can go to the cinema right now. You can do certain things. So we will get in some cinemas. But yeah, to make the answer short, Vimeo basically let us choose our release date and have the film available for people to watch.
What about any other social media? Like, where can other people find you? On Facebook? Obviously, we found each other on Instagram.
Sure. So Facebook and Instagram, Bush Bash Film. Bush Bash Film is the page. We post there daily shots from the film, scenes, deleted scenes, information. Facebook and Instagram are your best bets. Obviously Vimeo, and then we will be releasing on other platforms as time flows over the next weeks and months. We'll be putting the film basically anywhere we can, really, that people might want to watch it.
Looking at the film, yeah, you can see the energy and you can see the different things coming together. And just as an independent filmmaker, yeah, because we're trying to make a film. So yeah, good job just getting it done and getting your vision across and also collaborating for real, man.
Thanks, Lamar. All I can say to you guys or any independent filmmakers, you just got to get out there and do it. And there will be hard times. It might rain. The camera might break. I don't know. Anything could happen. But I'm a real believer. You just got to get out there and see what happens, and it won't end up exactly how you hoped, but in so many cases, things will end up better than you hoped. And then the ones that end up worse than you hope will kind of get washed away in the general. That's where the energy comes in, and the friendship and the camaraderie and the momentum, and you just get it done the best you can.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the film. Thanks for joining us. Bush Bash, Vimeo.com, on demand /Bush Bash.
That's it. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Lamar.
Thanks, man.
Thank
Peace.
you.
See you guys.
Peace.
Ciao.